Welcome back. Now, let's start with the next topic called headings. Now, we talked about the HTML elements and attributes previously and about the basic editors. Now, in this session, we're going to talk more about something called HTML headings. Now, what are headings? Basically, whenever we need to set up headings, we use the heading tag within HTML. First of all, headings are these large texts that we set. There are 6 different stages or types of headings that we specify: heading 1, heading 2, heading 3, heading 4, heading 5, and 6. So wherever we need heading, basically we need to use this heading tag h1 to h6. That's all. So in order to do that, basically this is exactly what we do. So this says that we have h1, heading 1 is displayed with backslash. So heading 2, heading 3, heading 4, heading 5. If you click on try it yourself, this is the code that we get. Now again, if you notice, we wrote a basic document type. We talked about this, HTML and body. This time we don't need to write a head, again, just for an example's sake. Then we have heading 1, heading 2, heading 3, heading 4. What are headings? Basically, they are considered as these large scale headings. These are tags that are basically considered as a block tag. By that we mean that every time we give a heading, it automatically appears on a new line, and there's always a space before and after it. So every heading has some space before and some space after it. Okay, this is basically crucial in understanding that what a heading is supposed to do. Then we can write multiple paragraphs here. So for example, if I write a paragraph tag here, hello, this is a paragraph. Okay, so and then we just close it with \p. Now if I run this tag, execute this code, you will find that this is a paragraph appears here. So this is a normal ordinary text. A heading appears as a main heading. Now we just have to choose which size of heading we basically want. It's heading 1 is considered as the largest heading size, heading 2 little bit smaller, then smaller, then smaller, then smaller, then smaller. So typically whenever we need to specify headings within our tag, we use this h6 tags. So if I come back here, that's all the heading tag allows us to do. Then if I move to paragraph tags, within this we have a next tag called paragraph. What is a paragraph? Just like shown before, this paragraph tag allows us to write text. So wherever we need to write a standard text in our HTML document, every time a standard text is written, it is written within the paragraph tag. So we have a p tag. Okay, so p tag starts, p tag close. So if I try it yourself, if you click on the code, you would find that here's a paragraph. So we can write as many paragraph tags as we want. Each paragraph will appear on a separate paragraph tag here. Okay, this is so heading will allow us to have a heading, and paragraph will allow us to have a heading. So I can give a heading here. So for example, if I give h2, this is paragraph tag \h2 and close it. Now if I run it, basically it should give us the tag. So this is a paragraph tag, and then we get a text here. Okay, now do just remember that this is a capital letter, whereas the first one is small. So in HTML, it is not case sensitive, so we can use whatever type we want. But because we are following document type HTML, meaning HTML5 standard, it's always recommended to follow the small letters. So for every tag that we write, it's always recommended that, hey, let's just use the small letters. It makes things a lot easier to understand and how we basically want to work with it. So paragraph tags, so anytime you need text within your document, we use a paragraph tag. Heading tags for heading, paragraph tag for paragraph. Remember, HTML is for structuring. So to structure the content with text, we use a paragraph. And for heading, we use heading. Now do remember with this, so for example, if I set this into a multi-line, so this is as a second line, okay, and then full stop. And then if I write this is now the third line, okay, and then I just leave a full stop. If you want, you can give it. So now we have 3 lines in our paragraph. If we run the code, you will see that all of the text appears on the same line. That's because HTML considers this as a single line statement based on a tag. It does not understand the new line that you entered on your browser. Okay, so it will understand that this code is paragraph starts here, this tag starts here to this point. This is all entire our paragraphs. So that's it. There's no new line here. If you want to give a new line, then we use a tag called BR. We will be talking more about this tag later on. So BR basically stands for break line, or in other words, new line in simple cases. So if I write this now, this will basically mean that we now want to use a new line after every paragraph. So within one single paragraph, if you have multiple lines and you want to make sure that each line appears on a new line setup, just like shown here, you basically need to use BR. Okay, that will simplify the things. Now there is an alternative to that as well. So if we come down here, this is basically how paragraph tags is displayed. So even this is also showing us so that if you have multiple lines of text, all lines will appear on a same line. regardless of how many enters or spaces you give. But every time you use a paragraph tag, after each paragraph there is always a new line. So that's built into paragraph. That's why it is also called a block tag. What is exactly is a block tag? We will discuss this more detail later on in the sections. But block tag basically means that every time you use a tag, it will automatically insert a new line and some space between it. So there's a new line and there's a space. Okay, so this is new line coming on new line. This is because there's so much text, so it's wrapping around. So if you just resize the content area, you would find that hey, it's all okay. Okay, it will just appear on a new line if there is a new line. If there's no space, it will automatically wrap to the new line. So this is paragraph tag for us. So if you go back to the paragraph tag, this is what we basically use. Then in order to separate the lines more evidently, we use something called HR. Okay, so we talked about BR for break line, but there's something called HR as well. So if I click on HR, now you see this simple line that appears here. This line basically indicates a simple horizontal ruler. So HR tag here is basically using for HR. So we use a heading, we use a paragraph, and then there's a HR. So what output we get, hey, this is heading 1, this is some paragraph tag. And then if you want to give a divider, a separator, or a simple ruler just to indicate that this is a break of paragraph, we use another tag called HR. Okay, similarly, we use HR at any point as we want. You can use HR in the middle as well. So HR basically will not insert a new line, but if you run it, so now I have, this is some HR other text. If I run it, you will find this is the line. So this is some break line and then HR. So it inserts a new line and then adds that the divider, and then the text goes on to new line automatically. Okay, so it behaves like a break line as well. It will add a new line to it, but it will insert this ruler as well. So in other words, if you don't want this ruler, then we use this line break, BR tag. Okay, so we talked about this earlier as well. BR basically will add this break line option to us. So if I click on try it yourself, now you would find, hey, this is a paragraph, BR line break. So now you notice that every time we insert a BR, the point where the BR is inserted, it will automatically move to a new line, a paragraph, BR tag, and then a new line appears. So BR is basically used wherever we want to specify the break line parameter. Within this, then we use HR to insert a ruler, or BR just to create that new line effect. So paragraph tag basically allows us to use a paragraph as long as we understand what text we want to insert. If you want to use the new lines, BR tag is most commonly used. Sometimes we use HR as well to create that nice effect at the end of a paragraph or at the end of the block. Okay. In this case, there's one other way we can do that as well, which is called the pre-tag. So for example, if you have this poem, okay, and you want to display this poem exactly as it is. So if I use this as a paragraph in HTML, spaces and new lines are ignored. It's telling us that message here. So if you check this code, it basically means that every time you use paragraph tag, it will ignore all the spaces and the new lines. So even though you write this poem very nicely and very properly formatted, but if you see here on your browser, it will give you this entire text as a simple content, which sometimes doesn't look nice. So how do we avoid it? We use a tag called pre. So if I come here and I type in pre, and then ending tag also becomes pre. Now if I run this code, you would find that it appears exactly as we have written it. This is what we call the pre-formatted tag. Okay, pre-formatted tag means that now it will consider the spaces and the new line. So you can use paragraph tag. At certain times, we use a pre-tag as well. So you can use a pre-tag as well, which will basically mean that the text will appear exactly or almost exactly as the way you have written in your code. So in your code, if you have given a new line, this will be showing a new line. If in your code you have given a space, it will show that space. So for example, if I come here and I enter multiple spaces at this point, and then rerun this code, now what should happen? So if I have inserted the tag here, come here, see this, it's ignoring the spaces before it within the content area. So if you run this code again and double check, see this, now we have our spaces. So previously, if you don't give spaces, it will consider this as normal. But if you do give spaces, pre-tag will consider this that you have deliberately inserted the formatting. So it says that it will insert all the spaces and the new line as you go. So this is exactly what we talk about in this pre-tag as well. So it is considered as what we call a pre-formatted text. Okay, this pre-formatted text means the text basically will be formatted as you specify according to your code that you write. The font by default is Courier font. Okay, it is a little bit different from what you see in paragraph. So if you check the outputs here, the paragraph has a different font and font size, whereas this is a Courier font of different little size. However, you can customize this with CSS, so we usually don't worry about that much. Okay, so now by this basically but most of the websites that you explore, and you will find that 90% almost we use the paragraph tag, because it just simplifies the thing, and then it allows us the control to insert the space and the new line wherever exactly we want to insert. So it's not like exactly fixed. So we set these spaces and lines with our code, which makes sure that our text appears correctly on every single device, rather than relying on browser to automatically interpret my new line and space in a pre-tag. Okay, so pre-tag is there, but somehow every web page that you explore, you would find that it uses this uh, paragraph tag, and then we control the space and new line with br or other space parameters. Okay, so in this session we talked about headings: h1, h2, h3, h4, h5, h6. You use headings for heading text. We talked about paragraph tags. We talked about our the way the paragraph is displayed, the br, hr, and the pre-tags. Okay, I hope this clarifies some things about how text itself is formatted on our HTML. Okay, so to wrap this up, this is final. Then next we will going to talk about styles a little bit more, and in next session. So see you next.